Chemistry is so hard to get right. A lot of folk think it's just about quality banter, something like James and Vesper in Casino Royale.
So as charming as you are, Mr. Bond, I will be keeping my eye on our government's money and off your perfectly formed house.
You noticed.
Even accountants have imagination.
And don't get me wrong, those two have fabulous chemistry. Their dialogue is to die for. But what if I told you that Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling have superb chemistry? Their dynamic is also fantastic, just in an entirely different way. And take Deadpool and Wolverine. They hate each other's guts throughout most of it, yet they're still an electrifying duo to watch.
Don't just stand there, you ape. Give me a hand up. Nope. I'm actually okay, thank you very much.
And what do these examples share in common? What is chemistry? It's safe to say it doesn't need dialogue. Simple actions can be oozing with it, such as when Sherlock jumps through a window to Watson's annoyance.
Holmes, where are you going? Watson!
And take that to another level, what if the second character does literally nothing in reaction to the first? Can that be chemistry?
Saul makes 10. 10 ought to do it, don't you think? You think we need one more? You think we need one more? All right, we'll get one more.
As it turns out, yes, there are more types of chemistry than you can shake a stick at, but I think fundamentally it's all about reaction. It means you know there's chemistry when character A says or does something, and character B responds in a way that vitalizes the exchange with some kind of energy, and that usually causes character A to react to them with their own energy, and all too often this has a cascading effect. The reason why I'm using the painfully vague term energy is because if you get any more specific, the definition stops working. But now we've at least got our definition, how can you create it? I think it's really interesting how chemistry hardly ever comes about when the two characters are identical, with the same beliefs, values, personality. All too often, it's when the characters are opposites in some respect, that is when it comes about. And don't forget that in order for people to be opposites, they need to first share a lot in common. An asteroid and a broom. Are they opposites? No, they've got nothing to do with each other. But a cat and a dog, are they opposites? Much more so. Deadpool and Wolverine, both are superpowered healers who stab a lot. They also want to save people and yearn to be heroic. Only Deadpool's penchant for humor and Wolverine's near total lack of it makes them opposites. It's the jester and the straight man, a classic archetypal relationship, and there are many more like it. The by-the-books character and the wild-card one who refuses to play by the rules. Lethal Weapon and House are perfect examples of this archetype.
Oh, almost forgot. I need to give a 16-year-old magic mushrooms to treat a cluster headache. Is that cool?
Yeah, no problem.
I was being sarcastic.
Wouldn't look that way in the court transcript.
And what is easily the most common such dynamic in all of fiction? The mentor and the apprentice. This could be Yoda and Luke, Rick and Morty, Haymitch and Katniss, Kratos and Atreus, Shifu and Poe. And this video would be 5 minutes longer than it is if I kept listing all the examples out there of this one, most of which have decent chemistry.
I know what you're gonna say.
You should not be here.
I was gonna go home.
I don't want to hear
but
it.
It was such a long way down, and I just thought about shooting.
And now
your
I
leg.
gotta hear it.
Kind of stuck to the side of the ship. If anything, it's kind of your fault that I'm here.
What did you just say?
I take that back.
These archetypal relationships are timeless, and it's not impossible to get creative with them and make something unique. But you can freestyle this and make your own opposites from scratch. Ask yourself, what are the qualities of your character? Then have their counterpart go against that. Do you have someone who's coming from wealth and is very dignified? Well, try pairing them with someone who's grown up on the streets and lacks any decorum. It's easy to envision the antics such a pair might get up to. I think of Lionel and King George in The King's Speech. Every time King George and Lionel interact with each other, there's this real tension because of the class divide, and it's one Lionel is constantly pushing the boundaries of, often goading out strong reactions.
What are you doing?
Get up, you can't sit there, get up!
Why not? It's a chair.
That is St. Edward's chair.
People have carved their names on it.
Chair is the seat on which every king and queen...
by a large rock.
It makes you uncomfortable in a way because of the constant tension between them. But my god, if watching these two go back and forth isn't a gripping watch. Them being opposites isn't a guaranteed recipe for greatness, that's for sure, but it is a solid starting point. I'd also say that if you want these two characters to get along well with each other, maybe they don't at the start, but they grow to like each other with time, the old enemies to lovers approach, which is oddly enough what Deadpool and Wolverine goes for, it's a great idea to give them similar values. They might have radically different personalities and philosophies they live by, fiercely disagreeing on how something should be done, but they both agree it has to be done. They have the same goals, such as in Avengers 1, where they all want to save the world despite their many conflicts and disagreements. It could be Holmes and Watson both seeking the thrill of a great case, Spider-Man and Iron Man both being selfless and wanting to save everyone around them, or Aziraphale and Crowley from Good Omens, an angel and a demon, as opposite to each other as it gets, yet they both enjoy Earth how it is and are united by their efforts to stop heaven and hell from meddling with mortal affairs. If they can't see eye to eye on anything, good luck building camaraderie between them. But then again, if you want a hero and a villain to have chemistry with each other, maybe that's exactly what the Doctor ordered. What I find quite interesting is if you replace the Wolverine in the Deadpool movie with the main X-Men version of Wolverine we're familiar with, their chemistry would be worse for it, I reckon. The main Wolverine is a well-adjusted guy in the grand scheme, if you discount the PTSD and, like stabbing Rogue in the chest and that sort of stuff. Meanwhile, this Wolverine is a deeply bitter, cynical man who hates himself and the world, and it gives him so much pent-up angst he feels the urge to vent, and that's great for the story. When this Wolverine meets Deadpool and he pulls a gun on him, Logan smiles because he has just been given a wonderful excuse to vent his rage. He can only vent it once in a normal person for, like obvious reasons, and that cuts the other way. Wolverine is a perfect punching bag for Deadpool as he's a straight man who doesn't have any sense of humor.
Want to talk about what's haunting you, or should we wait for a third act flashback?
Go fuck yourself.
It's easy to imagine both versions of Wolverine being wound up by Deadpool, but due to this one's massive anger management issues, Deadpool's antics don't just rile him up, they trigger the shit out of him. And when Wolverine unleashes his rage, Deadpool often reciprocates or makes a joke at his expense. And look at that, if either character says or does something, that prompts the other to react with their own energy in the scene. That right there is textbook chemistry.
Yes, science!
But wait, hold on a second.
Scratch that. Reverse it.
Magnify!
Bring it back a bit, because this version of Wolverine is an unheroic scumbag, unlike the version we're used to in the main films. And Deadpool's explicitly not a hero. He's done many dastardly deeds in his time.
The way we...
And that means the main version of Wolverine is more of an opposite to Deadpool than the one in the recent movie. Isn't that interesting? It goes to show the idea of them having to be opposites is
More what you call guidelines than actual rules.
and there's plenty more where that came from. Another way to create chemistry is to have your characters complement each other.
Impressive. Very nice.
No, not that kind of compliment. When we see that they work better together than they do alone, that does wonders, and not just making the audience root for their relationship, which is always a plus, but also for bolstering chemistry. What this means is if one character has a weakness, the strengths of their counterparts helps balance that out. Sherlock and Watson are the classic duo, and throughout the many incarnations, while Sherlock provides the deductive genius, it's Watson who grounds Holmes to humanity.
John, I am a ridiculous man, redeemed only by the warmth and constancy of your friendship.
Then after, Sherlock gets everyone crying at his speech, and he's in shock. He doesn't grasp the idea that someone could cry, could feel emotion at something he said.
What's wrong? What happened? Why are you all doing that?
And it's Watson who has to tell him it's all okay. Specifically in recent incarnations like the RDJ movie and the BBC show, Sherlock is so socially inept, he more or less outsources his kindness and overall social skills to Watson. And that's not the case in the original novels, by the way. Sherlock in those is quite a kind, caring man. But throughout all incarnations, it's Watson who acts as his anchor to the normal. The aspects of life he overlooks, Watson is always there to remind him of them. And this is a dynamic with endless potential for comedy, drama, and chemistry, such as when Sherlock has been deducing a number of brilliant insights from a victim's pocket watch, only for Watson to say,
"One thing you failed to deduce from the watch, Holmes."
I think not.
The time.
Notice how while this is a totally viable approach, you don't need to do it. I think of Rick and Morty. In that show, Morty is useless at everything. And while the show could have attempted something in this vein where Morty is Rick's Watson who brings him down to reality and teaches him to care, they never do. Rick never learns any lessons off of Morty, but they're still a fun duo to watch.
You're gonna have to do me a real solid. Uh-oh. When we get to customs, I'm gonna need you to take these seeds into the bathroom, and I'm gonna need you to put them way up inside your butthole, Morty.
In my butt?
Put them way up inside there, as far as they can fit.
Oh, jeez, Rick.
And there are still a lot of examples out there that these points aren't capturing. Take Jack Sparrow and Barbossa.
That sail! Slack windward, brace and sheet!
Slack windward, brace and sheet!
All the pennant line!
All the pennant line! Captain gives orders on the ship.
The captain of the ship is given orders.
My ship makes me captain.
They be my charts.
That makes you chartman.
Who didn't enjoy the bit in World's End where the two of them are bickering about who gets to be captain? While Jack is a ridiculous man and Barbossa is a tad more grounded, I don't think it's the contrast between them that creates their chemistry. Instead, there's a whole side of this topic that we haven't touched on yet. It comes down to how a surprising amount of the time, the moments of greatest chemistry are the moments where the two characters are fighting for status over the other. It's true to life that most human interaction is us trying to make ourselves appear as high a status as possible. Such is what Thomas Wolfe believed, at least. Jack and Barbossa fighting over who gets to be captain is a blatant example, but you'll find fights for status can get so much more subtle. The characters might not have any titles or material things they're competing for, but what they are competing for is being the person who's correct, or the person who's the funniest, has the best taste, or any other kind of social status that might make another stop looking down on a person and instead look up.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers Van Patten's card to mine.
Let's go back to Casino Royale, which has easily the best romantic chemistry of any Bond film, and it's not even close that this film is oozing with this type of chemistry.
I'm Mr. Arlington Beach, and you're Miss Stephanie Broadchester here.
I am not.
You're gonna have to trust me on this.
Oh, no, I don't.
James and Vesper are constantly having a go at each other, and it's not ill-meant, but it's very much them playing the game of which of us has the best wit, and it's a joy to watch.
You know, I think I'll call that a Vesper.
Because of the bitter aftertaste?
No. Because once you've tasted it, that's all you want to drink.
Then you've got Leah Seduku's character in the sequels, and I don't know about you, but I never cared about their relationship because they never had that spark. Vesper and James had such well-written banter and such a well-oiled dynamic, they're a much more entertaining couple to watch. And this may sound crazy, but Clarice Starling and Hannibal Lecter have exactly this type of chemistry.
Closer, please. Closer.
Every scene they're in, from start to finish, it is a pure status struggle. Watching their scenes is like watching a tennis match, as each is trying to get the upper hand on the other. This could be Hannibal pointing out how she's nowhere near as impressive as she might first seem.
That expires in 1 week. You're not real FBI, are you?
A few lines later, she fumbles it and loses a massive amount of status.
Perhaps you'd care to lend us your view on this questionnaire, sir.
Oh, no. You were doing fine. And now this ham-handed segue into your questionnaire. It won't do.
And Hannibal then throws out a literal challenge, saying, here's your final chance, impress me, prove you're someone I should respect.
Why do you think he removes their skins?
And Hannibal's now the one to suffer a defeat. She says most serial killers take trophies. He ripoffs saying, ha, I didn't do that, your theory is silly. And she replies saying, well, you ate your trophy, so in a way you kind of did take trophies. And he suffered such a status defeat there, it makes up for her earlier blunder, as he says straight after.
You send that through now.
And agrees to take a look at her case. When you ask people for examples of great chemistry, I'm not sure anyone's first pick would be Clarice and Hannibal, but it's very much there. How else could their interactions be so thoroughly entertaining? The hard part about giving advice around character chemistry is that there are no hard rules. All of the techniques I'm outlining are optional tools because as long as you achieve that end result of reaction causing a reaction which causes a reaction, you're golden. You know you've achieved chemistry when your dialogue is just writing itself. Great chemistry doesn't just make it fun for the audience, it makes the writing process fun, as you can't wait to write their next exchange and see them bouncing off of each other. And while chemistry is all well and good for quality dialogue, if you don't master the other aspects of the craft, that will spoil your hard work. A shoddy exposition, for example.
This is Katana. She's got my back. Her sword traps the souls of its victims.
Exposition is nightmarish. People will laugh at you if you do it wrong. So how exactly do you give it without boring people? And more than that, scenes like when Morpheus tells Neo about the Matrix proves it can be phenomenally entertaining if done well. If that's a skill you're looking to learn, I made a video on Nebula that delves deep into this issue. I break down some rather bad examples from Avatar to Joker. I even fully analyze the Darth Plagueis scene and why that scene is nothing short of a masterpiece. I dream of writing exposition half as good as that scene's was, and in the video I fully explain why. This one's not on YouTube, but you can watch it right now on Nebula by clicking my link down below in the description. I co-founded Nebula with some other creators as a way to elevate what we were making, and it's gone phenomenally. I've made a bunch of exclusives like my one on why The Dark Knight Rises is the weakest of that trilogy. You can check all of those out if you like. We've been branching out recently into making actual movies. You've got Patrick H. Williams' Night of the Coconut, Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend, Identities, and more movies on the way. We're the fastest growing independent video site in the world right now for a reason. And if you haven't got Nebula yet, I strongly recommend it because I'm using it as much as I use YouTube right now. There are no adverts to annoy you, and I find it just so nice to watch videos without being sucked down algorithm rabbit holes. And suddenly, 2 hours of my time is gone. It's really quite refreshing. All you've got to do to join me is click my link down below and grab it for 40% off, making it $3 a month. It's really good value for money. And again, once you're signed up, check out my video how to write great exposition so you can take your writing craft to the next level. Anyway, thanks for watching, keep writing, and I'll see you guys next time on The Closer Look.